Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the Tennessee Titans at the New Orleans Saints in their Week 9 matchup played November 8th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, with about 10 minutes still left in the first, Drew Brees hit Josh Hill for a 10-yard touchdown. Forbath hit the extra point, and it was 7-0 Saints over the Titans. Then, with about 7 minutes still left in the first, Suckup hit a 51-yard field goal to put the Titans' first points on the board, as it was 7-3 with the Saints still in the lead. And then, with a little less than 4 minutes still left in the first, Brees threw a second touchdown pass of the game. This one a 38-yarder to Brandon Cooks. Forbath added the extra point, and it was 14-3 New Orleans over Tennessee. But then, with still a minute left in the first quarter, Marcus Mariota airs it out for the tight end Delanie Walker, a 61-yard touchdown. Suckup adds the extra point, and it was a 4-point game with the Saints up 14-10. So that was the score after the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, with 11 minutes left before halftime, Drew Brees scored on a 1-yard touchdown run. Forbath added the extra point, and the Saints were now up 21-10 as they extended their lead to 11. But with 8 minutes left before halftime, Mariota found Delanie Walker, this time for a 2-yard touchdown pass. Suckup added the extra point, and it was back to a 4-point game, this time with the score 21-17. So that would be the score at halftime. Then in the third quarter, Suckup would kick a 29-yard field goal about midway through to put up the only points in the quarter, and that would make it a 1-point game as the Titans now trailed the Saints 21-20. Then in the fourth quarter, Drew Brees would hit Michael Humanawanui for a 1-yard touchdown with about 11.5 minutes left in regulation. Kai Forbath added the extra point, and it was 28-20 as the Saints were in the lead by 8 points. So now with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Marcus Mariota would find Justin Hunter for an 8-yard touchdown, and now down by 8 before the score, and now down by 2 with the 6 points from the touchdown. The Titans would go for 2 points to tie the game, and Mariota finds Delanie Walker, the tight end, who he'd hit earlier for 2 touchdowns, this time for the 2 points, and this game is tied at 28 apiece. So now after the touchdown, the Saints would get the ball, but after 4 plays, they would end up having to punt it. So they did pick up a first down, but then penalties cost them, and they would have to punt it from their own 40. So now the Titans would take over after that punt on their own 11, and they would drive into New Orleans territory. They actually got down to the 30, but then a penalty would bring them back to the 41 as they were called for holding. And a couple plays later, Ryan Suckup would come out to attempt a 55-yard field goal, but it hit the crossbar, and so it was no good, and the game remained tied at 28 with less than 2 minutes left. So he kicked that one coming out the 2-minute warning, and now the Saints would take over at midfield after the missed field goal. They had it on their own 45. They got down into Tennessee territory. But then Brees was sacked on 1st and 10 from the 33 by Arakpo. Arakpo earlier had been called for a penalty that had been costly against the Saints, where he got called for roughing the passer, then unnecessary roughness, like unsportsmanlike conduct stuff. But here he comes up with a big sack, and that would push him back to the 41, and they would end up a few plays later getting to the 28 and attempting a 46-yard field goal. So Forbath came out for the game winner with a minute on the clock, a 46-yard field goal, but it was blocked by Sensabaugh. And so now the Titans would get the ball back after the blocked field goal. They had it on their own 36 with less than a minute left, but they were not able to get anything going, and they would have to punt the ball after they went 3 and out. And now the Saints got the ball, and they took a knee and took this game to overtime. There's just 11 seconds left on the clock. Instead of throwing up the Hail Mary, they decided, let's just go for overtime. As they were on their own 19, they would have needed a 81-yard touchdown, or they would have had to, get out of bounds or whatever. But so now we went to overtime after the knee. And on the first possession of overtime, The Titans would take the ball. They had it on their own 20 after the touchback on the kick. Mariota would go to Green Beckham, and he picked up 14 yards to bring it to the 34. Andrews then picked up 15 yards on the ground, then another 2. Now it was 2nd and 8 at the 49, and Mariota hit Stevens for a 24-yard pass that brought the ball to the New Orleans 25. Andrews picked up a yard on the ground. Mariota then went to Douglas. He picked up 7 yards. It was now 3rd and 2 on the 17, and they would need a first down or else they would have to settle for a field goal, and this game would go on. But Mariota hit Green Beckham for a 9-yard reception that made it 1st and goal on the 8-yard line. He then went to the tight end Delanie Walker. He picked up 3 yards. Now it was 2nd and goal on the 5, and Marcus Mariota hits Anthony Fasano for the game-winning 5-yard touchdown pass, and the Tennessee Titans win 34-28 in Mike Mularkey's first game as head coach, and the Titans win just their 2nd game of the season. They're 2-6 on the year, but they're 500 on the road as both wins have come away from Tennessee. They're 2-2 on the road, and the Saints are now 4-5 on the season. They're 3-2 at home. So Tennessee pulls off the win in overtime, and you got to wonder if the Saints are kicking themselves for taking that knee, although with just a couple seconds, it was 11 seconds on the clock. They needed to go 81 yards. Maybe even one big play maybe gets you into field goal range, or maybe a Hail Mary. But they go for the knee, which is the smart thing. But the Titans score a touchdown on the first possession overtime, and they win this game. Marcus Mariota coming up huge, 28 for 39, 371 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He also had a run for 5 yards as well. Andrews had 19 carries for 88 yards in this game. He also had a reception for 23 yards, which gave him 111 yards on the game. Delanie Walker, 7 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dorial Green Beckham, 5 receptions for 77 yards. Douglas, 5 receptions for 73 yards. And Fasano, 3 receptions for 33 yards, including the game-winning touchdown in overtime. And for the Saints, Drew Brees, 28 for 39, 387 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Mark Ingram, 22 carries for 54 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 42 yards, giving him 96 total yards in the game. Snead had 6 receptions for 95 yards, and Brandon Cooks, 4 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown. Ben Watson, 5 receptions for 60 yards, and Coleman had 2 receptions for 58 yards. Let me look at the kickers. Forbath, 0 for 1 on the field goals. He did miss that one field goal there. It was blocked by Sensabaugh. That could have been the game winner, but Sensabaugh coming up big. But he was 4 for 4 on the extra points for Forbath. Suckup, 2 for 3. He had missed that long attempt there. I think it was a 55-yarder, as I said, and he was 2 for 2 on the extra points. And on defense, Hawthorne had a forced fumble for the Saints. And for the Titans, Woodyard had a sack. Webb had an interception. Arakpo had 2 sacks. Blackson had a sack as well. And the Titans are pretty fired up there in this game. Well, the first downs, there was 30 for the Saints, 25 for the Titans. On 3rd down, the Saints were 6 for 11, 54% converted. The Titans 5 for 13, 38% converted. Total net yards, 483 for Tennessee, 416 for New Orleans. On the ground, the Titans netted 112. The Saints netted 61. Through the air, the Titans netted 371, as Mariota was not sacked at all in this game. The Saints netted 355 through the air, as Drew Brees was sacked 4 times, losing 32 yards. And the penalties, there was 9 against the Titans, 66 penalty yards. The Saints were penalized 1 less time, but 9 more yards, as they had 8 penalties for 75 penalty yards. Both teams did lose a fumble, although the Titans fumbled twice. They lost it just once, and the Saints lost their only fumble. And in the red zone, New Orleans was 3 for 4, 75%. The Titans 3 for 5, 60%. And the time of possession was pretty close, 32 minutes, 49 seconds for the Saints, 32 minutes, 21 seconds for the Titans. Of course, the Titans were the only team that had the ball in overtime, which brought that total up. But Tennessee coming up big in this game is their defense gave quite the effort. They forced that interception by Breeze. Both teams did have the fumble, but Tennessee comes away with it, and really, Mariota was airing it out in this game. He was really letting loose. It was 39 pass attempts, but a high completion percentage there, with 28 completions, as he almost had 400 yards and he had 4 touchdowns as he was airing out. And we see again another, shootout there in New Orleans. This, of course, coming off the heels of that Giants-Saints game where they scored over 100 points. But still, in this game, they scored 62 points. Not too shabby. But the Titans getting the win. And so the Saints, in that South, they've really got their work cut out for them. With the Panthers still undefeated. And Atlanta, even though they lost, New Orleans losing this game keeps them 2 games behind Atlanta, and they are 1 game ahead of the Bucs, who lost as well. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.